Hi, I'm Molly.
And I'm Jamie, and this is our From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast. As the owners of Hired Hand website software, we've been developing websites and creating internet marketing strategies for livestock breeders for the past 10 years.
The majority of our customers are involved in the breeding of registered animals, such as Texas Longhorns, Highland cattle, horses, and white-tailed deer, where the pedigrees are very important. The From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast examines many of the differences in raising pedigreed livestock for maximum profit. Join us and learn what we're covering today.
I'm really excited for today's podcast guest. Their cattle are very well known in the industry, but today we're going to learn a little bit about the history behind how they got there. So it's a real pleasure to introduce Felix Serna with Coyote Ranch. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to join me, Felix.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate you thinking of us. It's an honor to put it this way, and I commend y'all because the work that y'all do has given me the opportunity to attend a lot of sales without being there. And the work that y'all do and the research and put everything out there that we can learn from. I'm a fan, but we live day by day and try to keep moving forward. And first, I got to tip my hat to you because my dad always told me you tip your hat to a lady. So,
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I have to admit, I was doing a little research on your website before, trying to come up with some questions and stuff for today. And I just have to read this line to our listeners because it really resonated with me. And I think it will hit home for some of them as well. But you said, Longhorns are a functional cattle breed in the old tradition using today's ideas and technology. This blend of past and present is proof that Longhorns can fulfill the demands of today's cattle market. I just love that.
Yeah, well, I believe it. There's so many avenues that these cattle can go. Most of the beef breeds are just one direction, and these cattle, uh, you can do a lot of things with it. We've involved the wildlife, the grazing, the benefits of grazing Longhorns compared to stocker cattle, because we're involved a lot in the stocker cattle, and I get to observe how these cattle graze. Their hoof action, you can aerate pastures. You don't think so? When you put them for the wildlife industry, you put them in there and clear up brush, raise the browse line, and people can look at wildlife in the brush a little better. And they also, help us in the meat industry. They have their purpose, and I'm hoping that some of the stuff that I've been hearing about helping the health conscious people and all around breed. And plus, they're pretty to look at, and you can strike some pretty conversations when you're showing cattle.
Well, I can't wait to dig into some of this further. I have some notes here about your land conservation and the area that you're in and all of that. But let's first start, just in case there's some folks out there who have been living under a rock for a while. Let's first start with you telling me a little bit about yourself and your role at Coyote.
Well, I grew up in this part of the world. I grew up on the Coyote Ranch, and we ran a lot of cattle. I came to work. They recruited me, the previous owner, to come ride their horses. I used to ride a lot of horses, break a lot of colts. And then I've evolved here. I'm working on my 40th year here. And I took care of stockers, Santa Cruz breed, the horses and stuff like that. And then when Mr. Bass had the forevision of buying some great cattle in the past, I was still over here, but I'd helped in the Longhorns, helped Greg Briney, Mel Rayleigh, Shanna. And then I guess it was around 2005, 2006. I kind of fell into a situation and help out and got involved with the Longhorns. And I said, well, I'll give it a run and see what happens. And I've been there ever since. It was I'm a beef guy. And I'll admit it, I'm a beef guy. I've been around beef all my life. But these cattle are intriguing. You look at them, how smart they are, how they react. The way you treat them is how they're going to act. And we have some of the gentle cattle that I've ever been around, and I've been some wild cattle in my lifetime. But these cattle are smart, and they go through places where you wouldn't think they go through, but they're great mamas. Uh, I've seen them protect their babies. We have coyotes and stuff like that, and they show you that there's only one of a kind. Every one of them is different. Their attitude is different, but I haven't seen anything that's got aggressive. But you can cross them, and they make great crosses. But they're just pretty to look at, and they're so diverse that it's a pleasure to work with them. They challenge you. Trying to keep up and making them better. It's quite a challenge. But the main thing about it, they're survivors. They can take care of themselves, and you don't have to do very much for them. They'll do it by themselves. That's basically it. What I've evolved into this place, and the Longhorns. We've had a good run, and our goal is to produce the all-around cow, where you can go in a pasture, go in a show ring, and go measure their horns. That's our goal, and we're pretty progressive. We don't tolerate, stuff that these cattle might have some default. Our philosophy, if it's not good enough for us, it's not good enough for anybody else. That's our philosophy on this thing. And when you have cattle that will do diverse things, horn wise, color wise, and stuff, it's always good to wake up and look at them, because they'll brighten your day up. I really have enjoyed them, to be honest with you. And like I said, we get on the technical part, and in vitro flush them, and we're looking for EPDs in our sense. My EPD is consistency. If we can get a cow or a bull to be consistent, he makes our team. And we try all kinds of genetics and find which meshes with them, and try to get better every day. Um, you know, I appreciate y'all, because I can go to y'all's website, and all around everybody's website. It's a learning tool for me, because I'm a student. I've never learned. I'm still learning every day, and seeing what other people do, either tell me I want to do that or I don't want to do that, and that's how we evolve. We keep growing, try to grow, and try to produce the best we can on either either of the purebred herds that we work with.
Well, it sounds like you're in the same boat as many of our listeners, and just you got hooked, right? You didn't see this as your path maybe earlier on, but you're hooked with the Longhorns, and you're here to stay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Uh, I've judged a lot of shows all over the place, and here in South America and stuff like that. But when you see a good Longhorn walk in, you don't. It only doesn't only turn your head, but it turns the crowd's head when they see a good one. When you go to these horn measurements, you're surprised every year how they're growing. Um, and we're not a just a single trait kind of herd. When you get that way, it becomes a problem. We're trying to produce the whole animal, that structure, conformation, and has good horns. And kind of learn, and like I said, I tell everybody, you got to learn how to dance with them, because some of them dance a little slow, get started slow, and then they kick up a notch and going fast, growing wide. And some start out early and stop early. So that's the learning curve that we have. We're trying to figure out what these genetics, what will mesh wide, and I'll never stop going back to the foundation, because I believe a good foundation can hold up to anything. You look at houses that have good foundation; they last forever. And we play with the old timey genetics that were here, and we'll keep them condensed, and then we'll bring some outside genetics, try to create a hybrid vigor. And that's basically our philosophy. It's every day we got to get better. Uh, you know, you look at your mistakes in the past and forget about it and just keep going forward and try to look at your accomplishments and get better from your accomplishments, what you've done in the past. That's my philosophy on that.
Well, I can't wait to dig in more to that. We're going to talk about genetics and crossings and kind of just things you've seen over the years. But I feel like before we move into that topic, let's give a little bit of time to the history of the ranch as well, because it's such a historic family and such a historic program. Can you just tell us a little bit about the history of the ranch, and then the really interesting story I saw on your website as well of how you came up with your brand and your kind of your logo that ties to it as well?
Yes, ma'am. These ranches were established as part of in the past, Spanish land grants, and it evolved, throughout the years. You know, the McGill country, the Lips country. Uh, when Mr. and Mrs. Bass got this ranch, and they kind of kept the tradition, like the brand Mexican hat on the table. Uh, and it just it's history all the way. And you keep there's some windmills here that are older than I am on these ranches, and I'm a little bit up the creek on that age wise, but uh, there's still history. You look at some of the places that you go to that were stagecoach trails, wagon trails, old pins that dipping vats that were 80, 90 years old, and it just makes you proud to be able to walk on this land and be able to engulf what it gives to you. And the ranch itself, both ranches, um, the springtime, this lady puts on a beautiful dress. We've been driving, looking pastures, looking for a we call lobelia because it hurts cattle. But we've been able to identify at least 30, 40 different species of flowers that as you go to. So it makes it enchanting, let's put it that way. Uh, but the history goes on, and with the family, well, they say their great uncle saved this Longhorn industry by purchasing some cows, and there's a lot of stories and which are true. And Mr. Goodnight wrote some books that were somewhere around these ranches where he wrote some of that stuff. Uh, so how can I put this? We live history and we live to preserve it, but we also live to make it better, enhance it. That's kind of the philosophy. Uh, and throughout the years, everybody in this organization strives for good quality and try to become better than we were yesterday. And I'm a lucky guy. I don't go to work. I enjoy what I do, and that makes it uh, a better life for me. But at the same time, you got to be critical on yourself to be productive. Don't try not to stand in one place because I'll dig a hole. Because we need to look at the future. Um, I'm also a fan of helping other people. And, a lot of stuff we do here, try to create foreign market stuff, not basically just for us, but if we can do something like that would help other breeders, we will do it. Um, and, I had some teachers in my lifetime, and I'm still learning. I grew up with a set of what we call cowboys, I call vaqueros. Their ethics were be proud of who you are, don't brag, ride for the brand, and be loyal to the people that take care of you. And that's why we try to preserve, try to help the young folks kind of get some of that into their blood. If we keep that thing going, our future would be better. And we just live it. Let's put it that way. We live it, but being fortunate to work for some people that believe in taking care of the land and preserving the history, trying to create it, enhance it to where it was in the past. Uh, just that's phenomenal for me, being part of this organization and the Longhorns and the Gerts and the quarter horses and Lusitano horses that we crossed a little bit. But it's just fun all the time. Sometimes some days are frustrating, but if it lets you get down, you're not going to go anywhere. So you look at what you can do to make the day better. Uh, things that we do around here for me, were brought back from the old vaqueros that I grew up with, and their philosophy, their ethics, and love for life. They tell me, life is like eating. You wake up hungry, you eat. Lunchtime, dinner time. But if you go to bed hungry, it's nobody's fault but yours. And that's why you got to grab life to the fullest. And here it gives me the opportunity to do it. I don't know if I answered your question, but I got on the rant there for a little bit. But
No, you completely answered it. It was very, very moving, very touching to hear, where your beliefs stem from.
yes, ma'am. This part of South Texas is very historic. A lot of origins and cattle will come from this place. And you look at South Texas with one of the premier first to start getting cattle up the trails, which I think the Longhorns were the ones that started industrialization in the United States. If it hadn't been for the Longhorns moving up and people wouldn't get in the big cities and keep everything moving, we may not be where we are today. I know, you look at Longhorns and you see a lot of symbols of Longhorns that tells you quality and longevity. And that's why they've been around forever. So, it's just a whirlwind that keeps on going, and the country, the Longhorns in itself, and all cattle give back to all of us. But when you see a Longhorn stamp on a business or something, you have an idea it's a quality thing they're producing just because of what the Longhorn stands as a symbol in this whole United States. Um, and you're starting to see it in different countries. We ship cattle to Costa Rica, and they loving them down there. I had never, I've done it before, but I had never put Longhorn cattle on a plane. And they flew on a plane, and they did better than the other breeds that were around them. Uh, because this month right here, it's prime time for foreign markets because of the foreign committees in these big livestock shows, and they show up and they look and they buy, and that's where we've been fortunate to be able to tap in some of that right now.
And is that something you taught yourself, all the hoops you have to jump through to do that, or has that been going on for a while at the ranch?
We've been doing it for a while. We send a lot of embryos all over. We got calves in Uruguay right now, Paraguay, that you get an idea, keep track with what's going on in that part of the world. These cattle in Costa Rica are producing calves. Just try to create the market. Always tap into it because you never know what happens. And I know, Australia, Brazil is. At one time, we were talking pretty hard. Things kind of shifted, but we're still in the talking range. In the how I got a call for some. Oh, Israel was looking for some too. So, you know, there's if you don't tap the bushes, you don't find what people out there looking for cattle, and then we try to do that because at the same time, if it's beneficial for us, it should be beneficial for everybody on this thing, and we just gotta keep them in tune with what's going on and what we can do. So.
That's very impressive. Well, let's dig in a little bit to talk more about breeding and genetics and Longhorns specifically. Since you mentioned you've been in it for almost 40 years, what changes for the better have you seen since kind of the you've started in the industry?
The cattle quality has gone better. Their survivals, I've seen people study their genetics. For us, you look at Phenomenon Emperor as part of our base breed. A lot of two cows that were in our base breed, is Tardigrade and Delta Vixen, and that's where we set our base, and then went off from there. Uh, our influential bulls was Don Julio. We had Phenomenon Emperor here too. Don Julio evolved with Delta Diamond and him that produced. And then we've got Julio's Vixen, who, if you start looking in there, there's a lot of 80, 90-inch cows that go back to those genetics. And the growth of these cattle, like everybody else, we had that growth where they were real big and then they got a little small, but that was in the entire industry. But I see a medium now that cattle are pretty equal. You have your extreme, but cattle that you see are pretty equal across the base. And their structure. There for a while, I was worried about structure on cattle, but now the structure is looking good. You can see cattle that you can turn them in a small pasture and you can turn them in 10, 15,000 acres and they'll survive. And then you get the horns. To me, the horns are important, but you need all the other factors. And when you have the right genetics and you keep doing it, it may not happen first generation, might happen second and third generation, but you're going to get the growth. And being consistent. Cattle that are consistent producers, bulls that produce consistently and high quality. We here don't baby our cattle. They survive. We Cuban just to make sure they come to Cuba so we can see them. But they do it on themselves, and it's quite impressive. When you get some of the European breeds and English breeds in South Texas that are going to pieces, these cattle are looking great. The Bos Indicus group kind of meshes with this group, right, with the Longhorn. But as a whole, you walk into the show, you see high quality cattle. You walk into the horn measure, you see high quality. The futurity, has produced a lot of great cattle too. People are competitive. So as a whole, I am impressed with what it's done. The cattle, genetic wise, structure, conformation, and horns. And then you have the other additive sugar on the pie is color. There's a lot of colorful cattle out there. And I'm a firm believer if you can go out to the pasture and something catches your eye, you're going to go look at it. And that's been what we've been noticed here throughout the years of bringing people here, showing them cattle. The colorful cattle will catch their eye and they'll look at it, and it's always pretty good to see the gleam in the eye of a person come to look over here when they're impressed with something. But go back, Phenomenon, Emperor, and the Targates and the Delta Vixen. If you look back in a lot of pedigrees, because I study a lot of pedigrees in the third, fourth, and fifth generation, and you'll see them come up. But there's also cows like, Possum Queen that goes out there. And then, you know, oh, my, I lost my train of thought, but, Jamaicism's mother, uh, Jamaicism, J.P. Grand, Tough Checks, that are out there that are influential into our breed. I've we bred a bull over here that goes back to Circle K Donovan, just to put the old genetics in there. And you look at Circle K Donovan and go back, and you'll see his impression. You know, Eternal Atari produced Eternal Atari, that part of the Circle K Donovan. Um, we we try to watch everybody what's doing, and try to follow them, but also try to see how they fit into our group. Hunts Command Respect made an impact here. Uh, we have some cattle with lots of horns, but we also brought the phenomenon, kept the size. The Vixen, Hoodoo Vixen, he did also that. And then we've been fortunate to use some good bulls. We have some good bulls right now, but historically, those ones keep showing up on pedigrees. Those older foundation bulls, um, and we just keep working with those genetics and try to. Like I tell everybody, if you make a good stew and it's tasteful, and then you try to add to the recipe to make it better. Sometimes it don't get better, but when you do, it makes you feel good, and that's what we're trying to do: create recipes to try to enhance the kettle. And I'm not going to say we've been successful all the time, but we won't talk about those. We just talk about what it got better, and work from there. Our younger cattle right now are very impressive. Uh, we've seen some cattle that we put them on a grid, and when these cows were 8, 9 years old, the 2 and 3 year olds are at the same level. And then we're trying to find peaks and valleys. Uh, and I'm very lucky to have Dello that works with me, and she does all kinds of equations and put charts together for me just to make our life easier. But we keep working with the foundation. That we always go back. We may get this started, but we'll come back and keep it going that way. Um, like our forefathers, the foundation's always been there to keep everything going forward. Um, that's my genetic principle. What we look at, and you take these elite cows, and then you try to multiply them by vitro and flushing them, and try to gain more cattle off of that, so you can have more products to your equation to do that. But I have found you could have the same genetics on both sides, but one will outproduce the other. You never know why. Conditions. Uh, but this one may not grow as much, but it may produce as much or better than the other one that has the biggest horn. Mm-hmm. So I don't punt most of the time on those kind of genetics, as long as they fit our criteria of conformation and structure. And that's how, I look at this situation to try to get better every day. But genetics is the main part. And, also, you got to look not only within, but look all around you. Mr. Loomis, you look at his progeny and he's been accomplished. So, we look at what his genetics are doing. We look all around from California to the East Coast, up north, and try to see what other people are doing. Not try to copy, but try to see if you could find a mixture that might grow it out. Because if you stay with one closed herd, you're not going to get any better. You need to bring the outside genetics to help you enhance that. And
So
go ahead.
sorry. So let me ask you this, because I feel like it would be really hard to surprise you based on your experience and your research. Has there ever been a bull or a cow that popped up out there from another ranch that you're just like, wow, like I did not expect that? You know, you didn't expect them to, whether it be how they looked or how influential they ended up being, that just kind of caught you off guard?
Sharpshooter was one of them. I saw him as a yearling, and I thought he was going to be special. He did that. I saw Cowboy Casanova as a wing calf and made an effort to acquire him, but you know how he impacted. You know, Daryl Dickerson has had a couple bulls that I've been kind of impressed with. And as calves, and they grow up by. I try to look at cattle in their young age, and usually, if there's one out there, he'll come out and stand up. But you go back, JP Rio Grande. All his accomplishments. Uh, Rebel. He's come out. He kind of surprised me, but he's come out and been quite influential. Uh, trying to see what the next young gun is going to be. And I got about, I'm going to keep it under my pocket, but I got about 4 or 5 that I'm going to look at throughout the progression and see where we're at. Red McCombs had some cattle that were impressive, and we've used some of that. Another one that's kind of been kind of low is Swagger. Little different type of genetics, little different horn shape, but with the right cross, he's going to be he is an impactful bull. Um, just running all kinds of bulls because I keep a lot of them in my mind. Um, I know North Carolina, the Carolinas had some bulls that were out there. And then you get up in Michigan, those boys have done well with some of their bulls over there. And, we're happy that we had been part of it with Hoodoo Thunder in that part of the world. Um, I have to go back to my notes to give you lots of names, but there's some bulls out there that are worth looking at. We've seen a trend that some of these genetics have condensed. So my time right now is looking at some of these other genetics that are kind of, a bull that with about 2-3 crosses, BL night checks, made an impact, but his sons and daughters did that. Um, oh, I got one on the tip of my tongue and I can't say it, can't get it out. But there are some bulls that are quite impressive. And not necessarily, some of them have great horn, but there's some that the genetic by themselves is impactful if you can put it into your breed. They may not have the biggest horns, but they will be impactful in their lifetime uh, to the industry. When we do measuring here, we measure tip to tip and a total, and we do a lot of twisty horn measurements. And my deal to have a rating is I add them both together. Because sometimes this cow may have 30 inches and may have 110 inches of total horn. And that's how we rate our cows with the composite measuring. And that keeps me in tune with what these cattle are doing. And when we go out there and look at something, I look at what the composite measurement is to give me an idea if we need to influx those genetics here. A lot of those twisty, messed up horns, if you ever straighten them out, they're world records. Uh, that's how we base it. And then, you see Kishing right now. You ever straighten those horns out, ain't nobody going to touch her. But she's also a good looking cow and has a lot to offer. Um, like Possum Queen shows up in a lot of genetics throughout the industry. in and beauty's in the eye of the beholder. My eye is different than most people. But when there's a good one out there, we will try to find a way to influx them into our genetics. That's what you look at, but they also look at the consistency of what they produce. Oh, we have Rebel in there. We have Hunt Command Respect. Uh, Far Left Checks is another one that kind of stays out there in the deal, but he's been influential. Um, and we just kept working from there. And I can't let all my secrets out because we may be trying to hunt for some of those stuff ourselves, but yeah, there's a lot of young ones. I'd say there's about 4 bulls out there that are gonna impact the young calves, but they're gonna impact the breed quite a bit. Uh, with the research that I have done on these cattle.
Well, I won't make you spill all your secrets. So here's an easier question, maybe. You all have sold a lot of El Coyote bred cattle, both private treaty and consignment sale. Is there one in your tenure there that you just kick yourself for letting go? You just learned down the road, I should have kept that one?
Well, true to tradition, Trudy. Uh, and I commend the Torkinsons because they saw her at a Wingley and they bought her at a Wingley. I really didn't want to sell her, but we let her go, and they've done great. They've got a bull out of him that he's done great for them, and they've done real good with him. That cow we sold, a Lovely Rose. Oh, hey, there's been several that you look back and you kick yourself 3-4 times, and then one more time just to say, "What did you do that for?" But a lot of good cattle had left in the beginning. There was a lot of good cattle that went out there that were impacts on this thing. But my reason is I do have the factory, and we put embryos up that I can recreate these things. They may not be the same, but uh, it's hard. And we got Miss Rhodey Houston heifer out there that I'm going to regret her. She's going to be an impact. She maybe not the tip to tip, but she's going to produce something that will be out there. Uh, you know, we can name a few, but the more I name them, the dumber I feel. But it's you can't keep them all. And when you put your genetics out there, it's a reflection of your program. And if you don't put them out there, and there's one of the problems is if we don't put our genetics, we don't know what they're going to do with other genetics. And we put them out there. And if the customer does great with them, it's a feather in our cap. We're not here just for ourselves. We're out here for the entire industry. And you applaud everybody that does well, and just you put a smile on it and say, "Well, let's see if we can do it again," and we'll go from there. Uh, but as long as I can keep the factory and try to reproduce it again, then we'll be all right. We'll be all right. Keep going.
So does that mean you have a few select animals on your ranch that will never leave, that are the foundation of the factory, that just aren't for sale no matter what?
Yes, ma'am. Uh, Delta Vexen never left. Stargrave left once and came back. She's here. Houston Tari or right now is the matriarch. Amor de Coyote, she produced Cornerstone. Um, you go on, Buena Tarde went out and came back. She's going to be good. Julio the Angel. I go name names of ones that won't leave. Uh, Miss Houston that produced Miss Rhodey Houston. Miss Houston stayed here. Miss Rhodey Houston stayed here. Uh, I think that, it's honor to them to let them live out their life here. I have a retirement pen that we turn some cattle out and let them live their lives, and we feed them. Uh, they've done great for us, so we have to do good for them too. Uh, as bulls, Don Julio didn't live here. Julio Dixon didn't live here. Um, Desperado, he was a quiet kind of bull, and but he made an impact. A lot of bighorn cattle, and he stayed here, and things like that that you gotta take control of for them to survive their life to the fullest. Quality of life is very important in anything. Horses and in some of your other breeds, you let them stay here uh, to live their life the way they should. Um, you know, we could mention some more, but I think those were some of the most important ones that we've got here that did not leave here. And you know, I hope when I get old like that, they let me live quality of life that way too.
You
Yeah.
hope there's a retirement pasture out there for you, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Oh,
Well, how would you feel about sharing a few of your most rewarding or memorable experiences as a breeder?
watching Miss Rhoda Houston be born. Uh, the first embryos that came out of Tari Grace when we had problems. I spent a month massaging her ovaries to get them to working again, and seeing those embryos, what impact they've been. Uh, the ranch being selected breeder of the year. But some of the most gratifying things is watching other people succeed. You get a young breeder and you help them out and they succeed. You new people, old people that you give them, that you let them acquire some of your genetics and they do good with them. That's probably been the most gratifying part of this thing. We can sing all our accolades, but when you can see other people succeed, that's more gratifying than anything else to me. And I think, the philosophy all the way around the ranch is the same way. If we can help people succeed, and with the cattle, but not only with cattle, education, you know, everything that we can do to make their life a little easier on as a rancher or whatever else comes by. That's probably the most satisfaction I've ever got. Uh, but you go out in the morning and see a new calf, that's a new experience. Uh, see a calf lying in a bed of flowers, you got to take a picture of that. And so every day is a gift to me, and everything that you see out there, you got to find something good in it to make your day go easier every day. Um, you know, it's you got to stay humble. Don't attract attention to yourself because they'll find you, and most times it's not good. But you go out there, and I'm a firm believer we're all equal. Uh, I don't believe in telling you go do that. Let's go do that. Follow me, kind of situation. And then the other gratification is when you see you got people working with you side by side, and they're starting to get the knowledge, and they get lighten up when they see something good. It makes you feel good. Um, no matter what accomplishes we do in our lifetime, when you help somebody, it's no better. There's no better feeling than that. That's the way I live it. That's the way I feel, and I think we're in the same deal all around this ranch to be able to accomplish that. We can name quite a few people that have been quite successful with the genetics that we produce here. So
That's great. That's the I don't have words. That's awesome. That's what means the most to you.
yes, ma'am. That's one of the reasons around here. There's some breeders that have 2, 3 cows, and we'll lease them a bull to try to enhance them. And you've seen some progression along the way, um, and they've done well with our genetics. And we have a hunting facility just north of us that had some cows that came from here, and we've been helping them with bulls. And now they're pretty tough. They have some good cattle, and they can go out there and make an impact. And you know, I don't consult with anybody, but we'll help them. We'll give them hints because you don't want to go into the business, but give them some ideas and that they can go forward with that stuff.
Love what you're hearing? Be sure to check out our Pickup Truck Confessions.
It's a video series where we hop in the truck or rental car and interview a variety of breeders about what drives their passion for their livestock, how they got started in the breed of their choice, marketing tips, and more.
And now, back to the podcast.
In general, what would be some of the advice that you would give new breeders?
If you're a new breeder, don't jump in without looking. Look at what you're looking at. Sometimes cheap is not good. You have to be able to go within your means. If you can't afford a high dollar cow, look at something within your means, but don't get away from quality. Genetics are important. You look at proven genetics, they will get you along the way. You can enhance. A lot of people make the mistake, I'm going to buy this one, it's high dollar stuff. And I don't want them to stop doing that, but really do your research and associate with how much country you have and what you can afford in cattle. Because if you buy too much, you abuse your country. And in this business, the more you save money, the more you can make it self maintain, the better off you'll be. You have to have the philosophy: can I afford it? Can it help me get better? And what are my goals? Always set goals to where you want to be. Most of us set goals and we want to do it tomorrow. But we got to look at the opportunity and pace yourself. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And you just keep going. Uh, you know, a Christmas present, it looks pretty when you wrap it up. When you open it, it lost some of its value. So you got to look at, take your time and get there. Uh, and the other thing, I tell people, you want to dance with these cattle. What do you want to dance? I said, you got to know how they move, how they step, what they're thinking. A lot of people have their own song, but I always look at a slow song that's kept me going forward. I always waltz across Texas, and that keeps me going. Kids that I help with the show, I've been able to produce maybe 8 or 9 national champion showmen. We all get nervous, and I tell them, when you're on the show stick, you just waltz across Texas, keep that same rhythm. You feel better, the cow feels better, and your nerves will go down. And that's the way I look at everything we do for young breeders. They need to think about a marathon and slow their pace down and observe. Learn from others. Don't never stop being a student, because you could pick up things that might help you for the future, might help you right now, or things that you don't want to do. You just keep being a student. That's what I would suggest to somebody. And don't be bashful about asking questions. The only dumb question is the one not asked. And that's a luxury about Longhorns. Most of the people are pretty free and giving you, if you ask a question, they'll give you their opinion. And, that's also a luxury about being involved in this breed, that, we all help each other. It just, it's like a bulldog in competition. You go out there and drop the steer, but all those bulldoggers, hey, they're two for each other, because they want him to do good. A lot of stuff is way out of your hand. It just happens. And I think that's the way we need to help each other. And these young breeders, you do the research, do the stuff, but ask questions. And now they provide where you can get the history of the cattle, what production, what they've done. That's always good to look at too. Uh, don't jump in the whole water without knowing how deep it is. If you hit one that doesn't have any depth at all, it's going to hurt you. If you hit one that's going way over the bottom, you're going to have a struggle to get back up. But always be prepared in what you do. But the most important part of anything these young breeders, I always tell them, I said, you think about it, you study about it, but the one that makes the decision is your heart. When it feels right and you know it's right and your heart is telling you right, most of the time it's the right decision. Uh, in anything you do, if you let your heart kind of help you make the decision, it's probably the best one for you at the time. I see a lot of young cattle that kind of, you look at them and you get the gleam in the eye and you get their heart to pump a little better. And 95% of the time, they do what you expected they would do. Uh, but that's a very important part to the equation. You can do all that other stuff, but add the heart to it if it feels better. And if you're a couple, if it feels good for both of y'all, good, because that way it'll stop arguments. If you decide it's good for you and it doesn't work out, well, somebody's going to have something hold over you too. So, but you got to be both in agreement if you're working with a partner. It's a good feeling when you have something that your heart tells you is good and it turns out good. Uh, and that will keep you out of trouble most of the time. Uh, don't wear sunglasses to look at cattle. Look at them wide-eyed and bright-eyed, and they'll tell you. They'll talk to you. You look at a cow when it walks to you, it has a pendulum movement, and when they kind of shut down the pendulum, those are red flags. You got to look at the structure. When they go by you, you look at what their neck, body. You look at their back. Uh, they kind of tell you what they got structure problems. And when they're running away, you kind of see how they walk, how they handle their feet, and hooks the pins and everything. But another little trick that I'll tell young people: look at their tail. And they look at me kind of dumb. I said, the tail will tell you a lot of stories. And I explained to them, thickness on the tail makes performance. Length of the tail tells you maturity. Uh, skinny tails, I kind of shied away. Long tail, they won't be mature till about they're 2.5, 3 years old. The medium tails will give you, a good maturity level. If they're short and skinny, they'll mature early and they won't grow for you. And this is old cowboy logic, the logic that I learned for as long as I've been alive. They would tell me, and when I first started learning this, and they don't know what they're doing. But it's been proven to me, and I've used it all my life. And that's something for young people to look at to try to be ahead of the game. First of all, when you say you got that pendulum, if you don't have that pendulum, start looking for the structure and the spine. If it's curved, straight, got to have a little angle from hook to pin, not much. And how wide they are, width and depth. But when you look at the front and back, you look at their feet and turn out, but also how wide they're across the back. Uh, I'm talking like a beef guy, but the Longhorns can be just as good as a beef cow, but it also gives you the opportunity to be able to have something that is high quality. Uh, and then the pelvic area on a Longhorn it beats everybody else. The circumference on them, and they're good cows. Uh, Even if you cross them, you could get something that's profitable and can go anywhere they want to on this deal. I'm looking at both sides. We want to produce a cow that goes wins the horn measurement, wins the show, but they're also cattle that will fit in the industry. One of the best cows I've ever known as far as surviving is a Gert Longhorn cross. 15, 20 years, they produce calves, they survive. You didn't spend a bunch of money on feed, but the Longhorns are even better for survival and being productive. Uh, because we got to look at, 9 times out of 10, only the top 5 to 6% make the upper echelon horn show deal. The rest of them we have to have ready to go to the butcher or to the auction barns, and you want to have something that will work over there. So we got to look at all spectrums of your operation. Have a game plan. What am I going to do with these calves? Uh, the prices of beef today are the best I've ever seen. Uh, and so we got to take advantage of that also. But they're also these sales is what we have to do with a colt. And if you have one that doesn't fit the market, you're not going to get any money. But if you have something that's productive that shows some depth and some muscle, they'll bring you some money. Uh, you know, Through history wise, we've always been knocked down because we're Longhorns. But I see a lot of cattle that won't get knocked down anymore. Uh, you know, you send something to the auction barn, you can be competitive. You may be 10, 15 cents back, but you'll be competitive with what they're going out there. And then you look at the national inventory of cattle right now, we're as low as the 50. And you look at some of the placement in the feed yards, they're not meeting the quota and they're hunting for cattle. So it's an opportune time to be able to put your cattle to the lead and work on your bottom end and keep building forward for that. Uh, I shouldn't be talking about it, but this is the real world. We have to be able to peddle cattle to other avenues, just not at a single one group. And one of the things that I like about going to Fort Worth to the sales over there, we're not exposed only to Longhorn breeders. We're exposed to the entire, group of people. There's thousands and thousands of people. And I've been fortunate enough to be at a sale and then go into show barns with a show string that there and it's always nice to hear the ramble. Oh, you see what the Longhorn gal did at the sale, and because it just goes on and on. It just sits there. But when you walk in there and don't say nothing and listen, and it puts a little happy heart in you just to hear that people are talking about the Longhorns. Uh, and that's one thing that we need to be able to enhance our marketability for not our top cows, but also the cows that are in the middle of the road and some that we need to sell. Uh,
Well,
you
I
know,
feel if
Go
not
ahead.
to interrupt you, sorry. I feel like that's a great segue because one of the questions I really wanted to ask you was about marketing. So you all consign to a very small number, or well, I mean,
Yeah.
modest number of sales, right? You're very particular about what sales you consign to. How does that play into your overall marketing, and what marketing tips would you have for breeders?
Well, first thing is get out there. But what I found that for me is word of mouth. A lot of people, come up here and they have a good experience, and you treat them well, they'll go tell some other people. Uh, Go to stuff that you wouldn't think be one a Longhorn. Uh, but you visit with them and tell them the benefits. We got a breeder down by the river that's feeding carrots to his Longhorns because they've got a good market, and he loves them. He gets a lot of. He hadn't any problem selling calves. Uh, and advertisement is an important part of it because if they don't see you, they don't know you. Uh, we post pictures 6 days a week on our Facebook deal, and we just take random pictures. We're not trying to sell. We put some of the sale ad, but most of the time, just take random pictures. And you'd be surprised when we get calls from Australia, Switzerland, looking for a skull, going to a bar, Germany, uh, and you visit with them. And they may not buy from you, but you planted the seed so they can go buy something else. Australia, we've had a good working relationship with Australia on both breeds, uh, and just get yourself out there. Most first impressions are the best impression. If you create a wrong impression right off the bat, there's always that black mark. And that's why, you tip your hat to the lady, look them in the eye, look everybody in the eye, and give them a handshake, and be honest with them. I've shot myself in the foot several times here. Person likes a cow, I don't like how he's milking, and I let him know. And you know, I'd rather fight my problems and not hand them off to somebody else. And that's important because that's where you get your return customers. And we show cattle all over the place, and we have in Texas we have the lead program with some of the top FFA teachers. They come about every 3 years, and we show them around. We have the ambassadors, 4-H ambassador would come up here. FFA, the you know the president, and all their deals from Texas, and a lot of kids that we put out here. And when we do a horn measure, when we invite the town to come out here, we'll feed them and stuff. We're not trying to sell them. The cow will sell themselves if they look at them. If you can't get them out here to look at them, you won't get them. We're not out there putting a bunch of stuff out, but we put something every day consistently, except for Sunday. We kind of take a day off, but that's hard to do on the ranch. But if you get the word out there, and the way you treat people is the most important. If you treat them with respect and hospitality and stuff, they look forward to coming back to you. And like I always tell people, come look at our cattle, we'll feed you. We'll find something to feed you. We're fortunate that we can do that in this part of the world. If we don't have it, we'll help you find it. It may not be from us, but I'll help you find it. And I've done that, found some cattle for people that we haven't had here, but they're happy when we help somebody else that way. Just stay out there. Don't show off. That never gets anybody else, but just stay out there where they can see you. Talk to people. And a lot of these young breeders need to, when they go through these functions, go introduce yourself to some of these established breeders, and you might could learn something the same way. At the same time, you might have something he wants. And tap into it. And they can give you ideas how to get better. But the most thing to do is just keep things in front of them, and they'll come around. They'll have a question. They see something they like. They will call you. We will now with spam and telemarketing, but we have to answer every phone call because we don't know what it is. Sometimes we just hang it right back up. But if you talk to somebody, it has come in handy. We had some people that live in South Texas but work in Illinois, and they saw us on Facebook for some reason or another. Now they have Longhorns in the valley. They work outside most of the time, just because we were out there in front. Oh, that a good philosophy, a good want to go forward, love of life attitude is attractive to people to come talk to you. You know, it's just like when you spill milk, the flies will come to it. So that's what I consider spilled milk. So you can talk to everybody, but that's the main thing. Be in front. Don't degrade anybody. Everything's good. Not saying that you have to bend over to everybody because some people kind of rude. Sometimes you got to put a stop to that. But other than that, it just attracts good people. Good people attract good people, and you keep talking and try to give them an overview of your program. Uh, you know, we all need educated. We don't know what you have unless you tell us. Or you have a website like I spy all over the place looking at websites and stuff, but it's just staying in front of people. That's the main thing, and with a good attitude. Uh, and don't sell anything that's not making you look bad. Uh, you sell something that is a cold or has problems. Make sure you let them know about it. If they want to buy it anyway, it's their deal. But don't just put it out there where it comes back and puts a black mark on you. Uh, that'll help everybody. I think that's a good way to have it for the entire industry. Uh, make them aware of what's wrong. If they want to do it, fine. But at least you're not hiding anything. Uh, we need to keep that in mind.
Well, I'm really glad that you didn't decline my call as a telemarketer when I contacted you about doing our podcast, because I feel like anyone that listened definitely learned a lot today. So thank you so much for joining me.
Well, I had you on my list and showed up your name. So, but before we get done, like I said earlier, I commend y'all. This is what industry needed. You're bringing in your podcast. I've heard a lot of them, and without that, we don't get to hear what everybody's doing or how they live their lives. Also, the sales that you all produce, that helps a lot of people. And you have a 30 days to do that, to be able to look at the cattle and study them up. In life, we need people to help us enhance what we're doing. And I consider y'all are doing that. And that it's been a pleasure. I hope I didn't ramble too much. I'm just well, I won't say that word, but I've been around the world once or twice, and sometimes it has been fun, sometimes it has not, but I've enjoyed every day of my life doing what I love to do. And I've been fortunate to work for people that take care of us and take care of the country. So that's, what more can you ask for?
I agree.
Yeah, what more can you ask for? Live the life and always try to help somebody along the way, along there. If it's a little thing that you help them with, it'll come back to you twofold. Uh, and that's always good. And if we have kids, remember education is very important. If you get the little paper that says you're a graduate of high school, college, then nobody can take that paper away. And it opens doors quicker than without not having it. I had to get a little bit of my school board experience in there for the kids, but it's very important. And now give yourself the best ammunition possible. You don't want to go into the work world without having the ammunition to back it up. And those little diplomas is your ammunition to get out there. And don't hesitate to take a job to learn to make you better in life. Uh, just for the youth of today, we need to keep that and develop a work ethic. And your parents will probably teach you the common sense. And I'm going to go rogue a little bit. don't stay on the phone all the time. You know, uh, we get so focused on the phone that we forget what's around us. You know, stop, look at the flowers, look at where you're going. It might give you an opportunity to learn the what's around you. Uh, when you have a chance, you know, and you're alone, do that, but don't let it consume all your time. The phones and the Facebook and whatever other thing that's out there, um, because it could be detrimental for you to gain where you want to be. So,
I feel like that's good advice for all of us, adults and kids in general.
yeah, I'm not, you know, I'm not saying because I, I, I couldn't do computer because I broke my keypad, but I'm got better now. And I've threatened to throw my phone out the door several times, but it's a necessity right now. But don't let it consume you. That's all I have to say on what it is. You know, we need this for the future. You know, they're beneficial because you can do research like my iPad right now. I've done a lot of research on it, and to keep you informed what's out there in the real world. But there's just a certain amount of time that you can spend on it without hurting you back, where you can look at stuff around you, enjoy, smell, uh, and not be just looking at a screen. But you know, I look at the trees, flowers, the cattle. They're my weathermen that tell me things are changing. You look at their eye; they tell you if something's wrong. Uh, the way they move, you know, you kind of get an idea where the wind direction is going to be, where they're heading, and that's just by observing these animals. And you know, we're getting to the point that spring is coming, but our old man, the mesquite trees, is still saying, "Hey, we got to wait a little bit before we get there." Uh, you know, the scissor tells us, "Yeah, winter's over." And things like that you will learn in your area if you just observe. Things will tell you things. What side of the tree the moss on, uh, and you look at right now. We are lucky. We've had more bluebonnets, Indian paintbrush than we had in a long time. Uh, so you know it's enjoyable. You know, it puts a smile on the face when you walk out there and good Lord sent you a bouquet of flowers to keep on going, to put a smile. Uh, but I wanted to get that in because it's affecting all of us in our life. So,
It is. I feel like that's great advice to end on.
yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank
Well,
you so much, Felix.
thank you. And like I said, I tip my hat to you because y'all do a great job.
Thank you.